In theaters now in relatively limited release is the new film from director Paul Verhoeven, who you may know from such cinematic classics as Showgirls and Basic Instinct and RoboCop and Starship Troopers, and films that are lesser known that are arguably better than most of those that I just talked about. This is Benedetta. This film is not for everybody. I saw this in New York with, I think, a crowd that knew what they were expecting. This is a film that is rather controversial, which is, you know, at 80-something years old, it's amazing that Paul Verhoeven is still making these movies that are getting people to storm out of theaters because they're offensive. This is a religious drama. Okay, this is a nunsploitation movie. If you've never heard the term nunsploitation, it was a movement in the 70s and 80s, mostly Italian cinema, that were just exploitation movies featuring nuns. It was dirty habits. It was nuns engaging in things that nuns aren't supposed to engage in, all for the entertainment dollar of, pervo moviegoers or people who want to get their kicks with nuns doing things they shouldn't. So this is an art house release by Paul Verhoeven, but this is a nunsploitation movie. This is extreme art house nunsploitation. So be aware, if you think you want to see this, be aware it has very explicit content. I mean, very explicit content in this movie. Basically, the story here is little girl and her affluent parents, they take her to a nunnery. Something happened when she was a child, and the father decided he was going to devote her life to serving the Lord, and he basically drops her off at a nunnery and says, here you go. She has visions, and maybe she can make things happen. She communicates with the Virgin Mary. And the nunnery is like, that's great, but you have to pay her away. And the father is like, okay, here you go, whatever you need. He's got the money. And strange things start happening to Benedetta, this young girl. A statue of the Virgin Mary falls forward on her, and she's not crushed, which is strange. And she has visions, and she envisions herself being the bride of Jesus and things like that. And eventually, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Eventually, this young girl who's very much abused by her family and father as a shepherd. Her father's a shepherd. She helps with the flock. And she basically runs in to seek asylum in the nunnery because he's so abusive to her. Benedetta takes this girl under her wing. Her father happens to be visiting. Benedetta says, can't she stay? The Mother Superior says, once again, nobody rides for free. Benedetta pleads with her father to pay for the girl as well. He says, anything for you. And they form an illicit relationship, shall we say, that gets very explicit. And there's a lot of that in this movie. So it is really, like, it's well made. It looks great. The performances are all very good. Charlotte Rampling plays the Mother Superior, and she's great. But what the two nuns engage in is far more explicit and often than I expected in an art house movie in 2021. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I went into this blind, by the way. I was told it was a drama. I believe this was just a straight drama. And I think I was aware that it was about nuns. I might have seen a listing at a theater that had a picture of nuns. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be a religious drama. Okay. And I didn't realize it was going to go out there. This is an exploitation movie, folks. And I'm reading about people who are like outraged and are storming out of theaters and things like that don't realize how much nudity there is in this movie and how arguably blasphemous this movie is to some. And I'm just thinking, I guess not everybody does research like I do before they see films. I mean, I went in blind, but usually I kind of have an idea what the movie's about. So again, religious themes of is Benedetta, is she on the side of good or not, is a question. And for all the trouble she ultimately causes to, like, everybody in this movie, when we were talking about it afterwards, I was saying, that father was all too happy to pay for somebody else to take care of his kid. And then when his kid wanted a playmate, he's just like, I'll pay for her too. Just keep the kid here. So is Benedetta what she claims she is or not? This doesn't really get into it doesn't really accuse the church of corruption or anything like that. I think if anything, it might insinuate that individuals within it might be, but I don't see this as an anti-church movie really at all. It's just about this one person and her claims of divinity or links to divinity and what she used that to do. I think it comments on politics and leaders and all sorts of things like that. It was just it was something. If you're a fan of, trashy, sleazy movies like I am, absolutely go see this. If you are more sensitive to explicit material and things that might be deemed religiously offensive, I would say you might want to skip this. This probably will be playing for a while. I think it's one of those that's only opening in certain cities or states currently, and it's slowly going to work its way around the US, so you'll probably have some time. And if not, it was distributed by IFC Films, so this isn't going to disappear. This will probably go to IFC, although I don't even know at this point if the Independent Film Channel shows movies. They were showing, like, what, 2.5 Men and the Three Stooges a while ago, so I don't know if they show movies. But with streaming these days, the window between theatrical and home tends to be a lot shorter, so this may be streaming before you know it if it doesn't play theatrically to you. It was pretty to look at, though, so I would say if you can see this in a theater and you're interested, it's well worth it. But just be aware that it is... I don't know if this technically is R-rated. I feel like this would probably maybe be at NC-17, if that was even a thing anymore. I don't know. At any rate, in theaters now, you've been warned or encouraged, is Benedetta.